Hello there, and welcome to day 20 of A Film a Day with me, Jordan Woodley. Today I'm going to talk about the social dilemma. Wait, stay where you are, stay there. Don't worry, I'm not going to spend too long on it. I'm actually quite tired. The one thing that might deter you is that it's going to get political because it's inevitable. And this documentary has a lot to say. So today is, of course, being the inauguration of Joe Biden as the 46th President of the United States. And I had no real intention of watching the inauguration, but because of notifications, I clicked on it and ended up watching pretty much from the beginning through to the swearing in of Kamala Harris, the swearing in of Joe Biden, and the entirety of his speech. Now, I'm not American, I don't live in America, and its relevance to me as a person should be minimal. However, I felt as I watched it, and I felt as I reflect on this documentary, that this is a checkpoint, a marker, where we really should look at the cultural change that might take place from this point on. The last 4 years have been incredibly difficult, and it's not just because of the US president and the national and then global ramifications of his tenure, but also the rise of the practically buzzword now of fake news and the dissemination of information, particularly when it comes to things like elections, major political events like Brexit, and coronavirus. The Social Dilemma is a heavy documentary. It is the kind of documentary that one could go in and be quite stirred to fearmonger, because it is a fear-mongering documentary. You know, these are people who work or have worked at the core of these giant monolith tech companies like Google, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, everything. And so my first point I want to make is the fact that I am very aware of how hypocritical it would be of me to, say, attack social media, but simply by the fact that I watched this film through Netflix, which, okay, isn't a social media platform, but it's not one. It uses the same algorithms as one and promotes itself using the same marketing techniques and AI software that all of the others do. I will post this on YouTube, which is one of the aforementioned monoliths. You know, I'll promote it using social media. So for me to sort of sit back and go, well, my conclusion from watching this documentary is that social media is the enemy, is flawed and hypocritical. So that's not really where I want to come at this from. My feeling is, however, that this should be considered the document part of documentary is very important here, because this is the point in which people now need to reflect on a major global cultural change that will affect civilization as a whole. As I say, the last few years have really highlighted how technology and social media and the dissemination of information using AI algorithms is massively contributing to things like our mental health, to how we interact with each other, to our political and social views. But it's not evil. And I think some could come away from this documentary going, oh, clearly these things are evil, we need to delete them. That's not going to be a solution. And I think even though most of the documentary are these people who work in the industry highlighting all the problems that they can see, many of whom who left their tech sector specifically because they couldn't consider how to hold back the tide of this and they couldn't be part of it. But and 90% of the documentary is that, but they all come to the same conclusion, which is you're not going to get rid of social media. You're not going to get rid of Google or any program like that. In the same way that, we're never going to get rid of the church or corporations or governments. These things are. And that being said, these things are not evil. In the same way that corporations, churches, governments are not evil. They don't have thoughts, they don't have feelings, they are simply mechanisms. And in these same ways, these social media, the algorithms and the AI are not Skynet. They serve a function and they do it so well that we as humans can't really understand it, on a basic level, because again, they're working faster and more efficiently to do the thing that they are supposed to do. And the people behind them, the sales guys are doing selling, the tech guys are doing tech. There isn't someone behind it who is sitting there stroking their chin going, oh, how can, I use this to corrupt people or, cause poor mental health in children or, create greater political divisions. That's not, I like to think that's not what sort of is happening behind the scenes. But these things are massive and hard to fathom, and yes, bad, troubling, changes are happening, and a lot of the things that we've gone through in the last couple of years, are maybe not directly caused by, but are a catalyst from social media and these AI marketing systems. And so what I would say about this documentary, and if you have a constitution for it, I would recommend watching it in the same way that, The Inconvenient Truth is a fear-mongering documentary, but because we need to be stirred to fear, because global warming is a major, major issue. It might not be, the burning cities or frozen wastelands that we could imagine, in the same way that AI isn't this robot brain that's sitting there trying to turn us into like cows. But I think the best way is for these documentaries to approach it is to present that. And yes, it will stir you a little bit, especially if you're easily affected by that kind of thing, but the logical thing to do is to take a step back and go, okay, I've listened and I need to sort of consider my attitudes to these things in my life, because either you don't want to go one of two ways, which is either to curl up in a ball and go, oh, everything's effed, or the other way, which is basically to say, well, I'm going to forget all of that because there's nothing I can do about it. It's, again, like a good documentary should. You need to go away and think about what these people who are industry professionals are telling us and go, okay, I need to listen and I need to consider how I can incorporate the thinking behind this into my everyday life. Because, as I say, this is a document, and I think people will look back at this documentary as something important when it comes to looking at the evolution of AI. I think that today was a checkpoint moment in terms of what I hope is a point in which we stop creating divisions and, going through these tribalizations that even in this documentary they are concerned about, and we simply listen. We listen to these experts and we listen to people. Even if we don't agree, we listen and we consider. And I think that's really the takeaway I have from this documentary, is I want to listen to it. Not literally, but like listen to the information and consider it and just sit with it for a bit. So, yeah, a heavy one today. Hopefully I'll watch it with quite light tomorrow. But again, thank you for joining me. See you tomorrow.